I have just one more thing to add to that. Just remember, anyone who has not gotten the quote vaccination is not harming anyone. If these therapies work, if these vaccines work, then the only person that has anything to worry about is the person not partaking in it, not the other people that have already received it. So we really need to be kind to the people that decide not to. Thank you. And one other thing, there are medical reasons listed on the packet information, and there are many people that are unable to. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. I would like to call to order a regular meeting of the Denali Borough Assembly here over the internet at 6 p.m. on April 14th. And to call us to order, I would ask Mayor Walker to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, gladly. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Walker. And I would ask our clerk to call the roll, please.
Sure. Lisa Miner.
Here.
Jeff Stanger. Eileen Holmes.
Here.
Krista Zappone.
Here.
Dominic Canali.
Present.
Talon Shreve. Jake Hill.
Here.
Joe Chatfield.
Here. And Talon Shreve called in and he is not able to be here.
Okay. And Jared Zimmerman.
Here.
Okay. Jeff Stinger, did anyone see him pop up? Okay. All right. There is a quorum.
All right. Is there a motion to excuse Mr. Shreve and Mr. Stenger if he's not able to join us?
I'll move to excuse absent members.
Second.
All right, moved by Mr. Hill to excuse and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone opposed to excusing? Seeing and hearing no one, call that unanimous. And we'll move on to public comment. And just a note to everybody that's listening or watching live. If you want to make a comment, you can call the borough office at 683-1330 or email our clerk, Amber Renshaw at arenshaw@denaliborough.com, and that'll get passed through to us here. And we'll have public comment time at the end of the meeting. And if people want to speak to specific agenda items, I just ask the staff if we get comments on the line that we can just take them at that time. So do our best to hear folks, given our digital state here. But do we have anything, or Ms. Zappone?
I just wanted to make sure that you're seeing Vanessa has her hand raised.
No. Yes, thank you. All right, go to Ms. Jusak with Chamber of Commerce.
Hello. I don't have anything additional to report. I did get some written reports in to Amber earlier this week, and so I just wanted to let you know that I was here and I'm available for any questions you might have.
Thank you for joining us.
Would you like me to read those reports?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Just have to find them real quick.
I'm happy just to give a summary too, Amber. I think I can remember most of it off the top of my head.
Okay.
For both Discover Denali and the Chamber, we will be hiring an intern for the summer for the months of June, July, and August, 20 hours a week. It is open to any local resident entering 9th to 12th grades or enrolled in any school, college, or technical school. And so the details on that will be coming out soon. But the Chamber internship will have a focus on regional economic development needs. And the visitor center one, of course, will be tourism and social media related. So if you know any younger kids who might be interested in that, send them our way. Brochure requests and inquiries are continuing to rise. And I think, I don't remember the exact number I put in the report, but like over the 5 days of the weekend, I came in and was amazed at the number of requests that we had. So they just continued to increase. And I think our projections of having given all things considered, a decent June and July, and maybe even a busy August are realistic. We just started today a 3-week marketing campaign directed specifically to travel planners and travel agents, and we had good attendance today. I think we had about 40 of those individuals online, and we have 2 more of those. So the interest is there, and I think we're seeing better numbers for small independent operators than we are for some of the larger hotels. And I think that's just a matter of preference for a lot of people's bookings at this time. But I do anticipate those hotel numbers will improve also as a lot of the smaller accommodations fill up. It's already looking up to be a busy summer for kind of across the board. And I think that was about it. Unless Amber, you saw at a glance anything I missed.
No, that looks good from what I remember reading. And then I do have a phone call. Mr. Steve Jones is on the phone, and he tried to log on and couldn't get on. So I'm just going to hold the phone up and let me know if you can hear him. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay.
Can you hear him okay?
I can hear you fine. Yeah. Can they hear me fine?
I got, yep, that's some thumbs up.
Okay. After going to about 7 hours of meetings last week on name change, naming roads, 3 things were very apparent. People wanted to, number one, people wanted to allow existing duplicate names and locations with different zip codes. Number 2, they wanted to allow for existing historical used names to be used even if the suffix do not match the new naming standards. And Aetna has been working on, number 3, Aetna has been working on naming their roads and stuff in their lands in Cantwell area. And there's a lot of discussion about leaving off hyphens and stuff. I think they should be able to, on their lands and in their village, they should be able to use their names however they see fit. Now, the Lemhi Shoshone on the south part of Flathead Lake in Montana have their names first with English translations below it. That may solve some of the pronunciation problems. And they're in a different color. They're brown and white instead of the typical green and white signs. So anyway, at least for the first 2 things, I would like to see them listed under section 912040B as exemptions or allow them to be codified, those 2 things, allowing for existing duplicate names with different zip codes and historical names, even if the suffix don't match. And if possible, maybe making an arrangement with Aetna to do something on their lands and their village with their names written however they want them. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, let me see if anyone has questions. Anyone?
Mr. Canali.
Get unmuted here. Yeah, no, I appreciate the comments by Mr. Jones. And I would echo, those were themes that I also picked up on attending all 3 public hearings last week on road naming. And particularly want to work with Aetna and the Planning Commission to resolve the issues that were raised in the first meeting that week. So I appreciate Mr. Jones for calling in and expressing those comments.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Jones? Okay, thank you. Thank you for calling in. Any other public comments that have come in through the office?
No, that was it.
Okay. Great. We will move on. I mean, we'll take public comments if they come in. We'll suspend the rules to hear from folks, but we'll move on now to approving our agenda.
I'll move to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hill to approve, and it's been seconded. Any discussion or changes to the agenda? Anyone opposed to approving as it is? Okay, seeing none, we'll call that unanimous and move on to our minutes from the March 10th public hearing and regular meeting, and also the March 31st special grant review meeting.
I'll move to approve the minutes from both meetings. Okay, second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Hill to approve the minutes and has been seconded. Any discussion or changes to the minutes? Seeing none, we'll consider those approved. And we'll bring, that brings up a finance committee report. Ms. Zapone.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. So the finance committee had a meeting in between those 2 sets of minutes that we just approved. We met on March 24th with our primary objective to put together the resolution that is on the table for later this evening. As part of our meeting, usually we discuss our current investment activities, any holdings that have been renewed or have ended, and then we always table some time for just overall creative discussion on where we're at financially. I think we've all met enough in the last couple weeks to really know that we're in a spot. I don't need to reiterate that for everyone again tonight more than that. But the resolution on our table tonight is an annual thing that the finance committee does put forward, and that is just restating our stance and how we're going to use our investments for the coming year. I would like to again thank Mr. Canali and Mr. Stanger, who attended that meeting on their own time. And overall, I would say it was a good discussion. If Mr. Hill has anything else to add, I would give him that moment to do so.
Nothing to add. Thank you for voicing that for us.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Zapone. And we'll move on to a school district report. And we have with us Superintendent Polta.
Hi, good evening, everybody, and thanks for having me here with you tonight. I'm going to start off and just highlight some of the appreciations and congratulations from the last month. And big congratulations to senior Michaela Randall from Tri-Valley. She was one of the 15 recipients for a June Nelson Memorial Scholarship from the Alaska Association of School Boards. So very proud of her efforts to be selected as one of those honorees. Also want to recognize our Tri-Valley Viking Warrior girls basketball team. They were able to represent the Golden Heart Conference in our school district and school and community at the state tournament this past month. Unfortunately, they were not the champions of that tournament, but really proud of the effort that they put forth to even have a basketball season in this challenging year, and then to come out on the top of our conference and go down and represent all of us at the regional tournament. Very proud of their effort. And then, just a big thanks and appreciation to all the workers with public health, workers from the borough, all the volunteers that came together for the second vaccination clinic that was hosted last week. Those of us that received that second dose and had especially those of us that had a very entertaining weekend with the reaction to that second dose, nonetheless really appreciated the opportunity to have that done locally and to be close to our homes for any potential recovery that we did. So greatly appreciated. Some quick things with Smart Start updates. CDC has been doing some small updates and tweaks to guidance within schools. They did do an update to guidance to schools recently, and we took a close look at that. We are updating our protocols, allowing a 3-foot distance down from a 6-foot distance in classroom settings, which are in classroom settings, not in our hallways, not in our common areas, really no other time, and still with a universal application of other mitigation efforts, the wearing of the appropriate face coverings, the regular hand cleaning of surfaces. Really doesn't impact our operations as we're pretty spread out, and still the advice is be spread out if you can be. But in a school setting with that really strong mitigation in place, the CDC has seen from studies across the country that students can effectively be a little bit closer without a significant increase of risk of infection due to that. On some financial side, talk a little bit about FY21 that's not in the report, and just that we continue to kind of look at the areas that we know there could be some additional variance in our budget in these last couple months. And those areas tend to be our like materials and supplies, seeing how we budgeted there. Usually in maintenance, we might see some areas that we've had some under expenses. And then what were the expenses in Denali Peak regarding the student allotment? And so with those things, we're tracking those, and we're starting to see in some areas likely having a little bit more funds unspent, but still seeing kind of other areas where we might be over. And so at this point, seeing that we're not at a point to start kind of making a really strong prediction of moving one way or the other, that right now the things still seem really balanced, kind of hoping that things turn out to provide a little bit more funds available at the end of the year that we could carry over into FY22 and into FY23. With FY23, we've started to document some of the small things that we know are an error or will need to be adjusted on the FY22 budget. We received our quotes for our health insurance for next year, and those are a little bit lower than what we anticipated, which is great, and really only results from the district qualifying for a discount as a result of staff participation in like an online wellness program that kind of, volunteers do things and it tracks activities. And we had a high enough level of participation that we received a 2% reduction. We also realized that in the actual draft, in the budget that was approved, we hadn't included a staff position that we want to continue from this year into next year into the fall. And so we've identified that as something that we'll need to correct into the budget. And those two pieces kind of balance themselves out, really are a wash. The thing that's a bigger impact and concern is that our estimate and calculation that we had seen for the monies that were received under the America Rescue Plan were off and unfortunately inflated. We built that budget around kind of an understanding with a receipt of $310,000. And even that was far below kind of the 400,000 that we were thinking we'd get and the 500,000 we were hoping for. So we're now looking at an updated calculation and estimate at 260,000, but actually worried that that's high and feel it could be as low as $210,000 from the rescue plan. And that's unfortunate because it's not very much. It doesn't provide a lot of funding. And it really ties into kind of the other item of concern to just share is, we put together a 2-year financial plan. And in both years, we really want to hold the local request to just under $2 million and try to keep that steady. We know that the uncertainty of the tourist season and the impact on the overnight accommodations tax, the impact of being forward funded, really gives us a 2-year period of concern locally in terms of what are the kind of fiscal resources available for public services here. And I think moving into FY22, very comfortable from the district side with that request that we continue to move forward with, which is a little bit under $2 million for your consideration. The concerns that I have is with that uncertainty and kind of how it plays out into FY23. And I get encouraged anytime I talk with Clay and with Mayor Walker, or when I hear the report from Vanessa Jusak from the chamber and hear reports of like that kind of strong interest in tourists coming to Denali this summer and feeling that maybe that's going to give us a stronger receipt for the overnight accommodations taxes than we'd anticipated. And I get really hopeful for that because I'm very comfortable with this FY22 proposal that we put forward for your consideration. I get very worried about implications for FY23 because at this point, I don't see a shift in the educational need of the district, meaning, the students that will be looking to come to our schools. I get very worried about the kind of the financial constraints that we're going to face in that FY23. And I say that, and I know that you're looking at those same things, especially given that forward funding structure of the borough, and just really ask that you keep that in your thoughts, that the uncertainty that you're experiencing is also the uncertainty that, the district is considering, and very likely the uncertainty that, the other nonprofits, our local emergency firefighters are also facing. And I appreciate the kind of those challenging questions and conversations that you're going to have to sit and wrestle with as you kind of figure out your FY22 budget, because that also impacts the funds that you have available quite possibly for FY23. Moving on to some items from facilities. Most of you probably felt the earthquake that we had that was centered a little bit outside of Cantwell. Definitely shook our Cantwell school building quite a bit. We felt it up at the Healy building as well. There were no reports of injuries or damage at any of our buildings. We did do walkthrough inspections, making sure everything was okay as soon as everything was done. I understand that the kids themselves were a little shaken in Cantwell, but that was really just the nerves from the experience, but not from any damage that happened. Say an update and correction regarding the Anderson roof. In the report, I said, hey, there's no leaks. Well, now that we're actually well above freezing, oh yeah, it's leaking again. And it's coming in the same spot. So it really hasn't been new areas. And we are getting up every day and trying to clear more snow and ice off. But the amount of snow and now the just incredible speed of melt is making it so we're not able to keep up with that. Repair work is now planned, and it's going to do a few different things. And the biggest area is that the leaks really are resulting from the fact that the sealant between the sections of tin was put on in weather conditions that it should not have been applied. That was an error by the construction company. And the correction of that will be done this summer and fully covered through the warranty on the work. So that is like good news in terms of we're not paying for their mistake. Unfortunately, we still have to manage the mistake. In looking at the aspects of the roof and trying to troubleshoot what the issues are, we've also been able to identify some additional insulation that we can do that will help reduce the amount of heat that escapes into that area. And through some work with the engineering firm and the construction company, and also looking at some other adjustments in some other areas, the supplies for that work is going to be covered through the adjustments to the other areas, and the labor is going to be provided for free by the construction company, kind of in recognition of the fact that they made a pretty significant error that day in the fall. The other thing that we're going to do is there's a vent that comes out of the school from the home economics room, and that brings a lot of heat out. When we first got down to the roof after the first leaks started coming out, there was just an area that was just completely thawed, watered up. And it was a result of this heat coming out of the vent. And so they're going to put a duct out and raise that up and then vent up at a higher level so that it's not melting snow right on top of the roof. That's going to be a change order. So there is going to be a small increase in cost to that when we take that up. Note on our transportation services, we only had one responder to our RFP. And right now we are in discussion with First Student to enter into a new 5-year contract for transportation services locally. We received the hypochlorous acid generator or hydrolyzer that we ordered and expect that to be operational in about 2 weeks. And again, this produces hypochlorous acid, which is a product that can be used as both a cleaning agent and at a different concentration, a disinfecting agent, has incredibly low toxicity levels. And it's something that we've been talking about at the Zero Landfill Initiative Board of Directors, and just kind of letting kind of local organizations know that we'd have the capacity to produce a very large quantity of this, 144 gallons a day potentially, at a concentration that's 10 times the concentration of the general cleaning product. And I think about 5 times the concentration of the disinfecting product, and are very interested in trying to supply that to people or local nonprofit partners that would be interested in either testing that product for their use or using that in their operations. And again, especially if you're a commercial provider, there might be a low, very reasonable charge for that. And the other thing I'd say is that the quantities can be provided in either 1 or 5 gallon opaque plastic containers, easily accessible at your local friendly hardware store, and is shelf stable at the that stronger concentration that comes out of the machine for 3 months. So it can last quite a long time and then be diluted out. The other thing I'll mention, just kind of as an ongoing thing, is the Tri-Valley generator. We've been going through a lot of things with that since right before winter break, with a final issue that it hasn't been turning off automatically. Once it cycles on, from when the power goes out, turns on automatically. It decouples the power supply when the mains power comes back on, but the generator itself is still running. It has to be manually shut off. To fix that, we need to replace a control panel, and we're estimating that cost at about $3,000. And the company we're working with is looking for the exact panel that we need, that we can just swap out on a 1-to-1 and be over and done. And then our generator would be back up to how it was, fully operational, still undersized for the building, still part of our overall generator upgrade for all 3 sites, but nonetheless would be that kind of fully automated functioning again. I want to make a note to people here and listening to the meeting that at tomorrow's school board meeting, they will be considering the school calendar for next year. There are 2 versions that the board will be looking at. They both have the same start and end date for students, which is Wednesday, August 25th, and then Thursday, May 26th. The differences are the timing of spring breaks, made a little bit more complicated this coming year because our kind of large neighboring districts, Fairbanks and Anchorage, are on different spring breaks. So people that say, I want to be able to go somewhere in Alaska and have the activities for my kids, kind of depends on what direction they want to head. Probably makes it a bit harder or easier in terms of the travel that other people like to try to time at spring break and try to get us positioned for, again, either the spring break activities somewhere or less expensive tickets out of Alaska. If you want to make a comment to the board on which calendar you prefer, they can be sent to schoolboard@dbsd.org. You could also email that and request to speak to the board on that or any other item in front of them tomorrow. And to see the specific calendars, if you go to the district website, into the school board section and look at the agenda for the meeting, you'd be able to see both documents. And just as a final note on staffing, at this point in time, we are fully staffed for next year. We still have our classified rehire notices to issue, but feel that's going to work very well. But all of our certified teachers, tenured and non-tenured, all of our exempt positions, contracts have been offered, things have been returned. We've hired a few kind of replacement in for the couple transitions that we've had. But at this point, really feel that we're in very good standing for next school year. And with that, I would entertain any questions.
Thank you, Superintendent Bolta.
And hearing no questions, then I wish you a great meeting, and I will be listening to the rest on your YouTube channel.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Good evening. And Mayor Walker, go on to you with the mayor's report.
Yeah, thank you. And good to be with you this evening. And thanks for your attention to all these different borough topics through this time. Thanks to the Finance Committee. And I'll start off with some of the public health items. Chris Knoll, our emergency manager, is out right now, has been out on family leave as they've been celebrating the birth and adjusting to their new lives with their firstborn, a healthy baby boy named Ellis, who is absolutely thriving and, as you might imagine, quite long and large at birth. So yeah, congratulations to them. And I'll go ahead and provide a report on a lot of these things we've been working on, including the pod clinics. Chris did a great job kind of getting those going. And then we ran with that second clinic. The team did so well. Numerous volunteers and vaccinators made that second pod clinic tick on April 9th. They're both such successes, and about 340 of our friends and neighbors will soon be fully vaccinated from COVID-19 due to those collective efforts. Public health nursing provided the medical backing at the first clinics. All Medical provided the medical backing at the second clinic. And MPS staff was hugely important. Borough staff, of course, and so many volunteers played just key roles. And I do want to give a shout out and thank Assembly members Zapone and Canali for both helping at both clinics. Really appreciate that, for volunteering. So going forward with COVID testing and vaccination, as you know, CARES funding is basically is used up and has been for a while. And so we've been looking for other ways to support through federal funds those vaccination and testing services. And we are finalizing a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Health and Social Services. The state is passing through CDC funds through this MOA process, and to do just that, to support testing and vaccination services in your community. And so we've been working closely with them, working that out. And the total dollar figure for the reimbursable funding, it's not a grant, it's reimbursable funding, is $220,000, and the duration of the agreement is through next March. And the borough does plan to utilize the services of a medical provider to deliver those services. The borough is not an enrolled medical provider and cannot deliver vaccinations. Visitor industry businesses are keenly interested, and this is an understatement, in the availability of both COVID testing and vaccination services. And the borough has been working diligently with those businesses, closely with those businesses, to ensure that our plans meet their needs. One upshot of that was we did expand the testing offerings. Currently, we had contracted the days of the week to provide PCR COVID testing at the trailer. Rapid tests are available 4 days a week, but due to the demand for seasonal employees coming in, needing that PCR test, we did expand it to 4 days a week. So currently it's Monday evening, 4:30 to 6:30, Tuesday evening, 4:30 to 6:30, Wednesday evening, 4:30 to 6:30, then Thursday morning, 9:30 to 11:30, or 9 to 11, something like that. So, and then additionally, rapids are by appointment in the evening at the testing trailer. So we are going to re-envision how the summer season looks that way. It will be not just based at the testing trailer, but we are looking at different ways to deliver the services where the people are, both in the visitor industry and residents. We are looking at the potential for mobile services. Vaccination rates and guidance. Last night, I had a look at the state vaccination website and their dashboard. An assembly member asked about this earlier. How will we know what our rate is here? And I was pretty pleased to see that we actually have the highest rate currently in the whole rail belt between Kenai, Borough, Anchorage, Matsu, Denali, and Fairbanks. We had the highest vaccination rate, 42%, actually doubled the rate of Matsu, which was 21%. And that was on that website last night. Today, I did see some different figures, but that's what I saw when I wrote this report last night. And really happy to see, of course, being at the top of that list and quite a bit higher than our neighbors to the east as well, who were at 20% in the Delta Tok area. And the governor did reach out today to a number of local leaders, including myself, with a message of that we need to get these rates up, that they're seeing some plateauing through our communities. And the message that we need to continue to grow those rates, not only to slow the spread, but to squelch the development of further variants. Local vaccinations here will look different with smaller clinics planned. We won't be doing 340, clinics, but smaller clinics will continue to be planned in the area for residents, for seasonal employees, and potentially even visitors. We're excited about being able to provide that service. CDC and DHSS have advised that all eligible people should strongly consider receiving the vaccine, not only for their protection, but also for broader population level effort to put COVID-19 behind us. So that's what we're hearing from the CDC, from DHSS, and from our governor. And we are, again, looking for every federal opportunity to both provide service and potentially make those CARES funds that were spent go a little further. And that involves the FEMA request. The borough team has had several meetings with FEMA regarding our application for public assistance. And we're not the only community doing this. And that's going back and looking at what you did last year with CARES. And were some of those expenditures FEMA eligible? And the answer is clearly yes. And so we're getting into those details about how much is eligible to reprogram to FEMA and would help free up some of those CARES funds to last a little longer into this year. So we're identifying that eligible work in response to the public health emergency, including standing up the community testing program, operating emergency operations center, and supporting those impacted. All right, let's, as we're all trying to do, move forward and not take our eye off the ball of economic development. There have been some good planning projects and processes underway that we've been involved with. I want to give you some updates on the Parks Highway Pell. That's that planning and environmental linkage project that really is a collaborative project. DOT is managing the project, and its goal is to identify potential future transportation and access improvements along the Parks Highway corridor from Cantwell to Ferry. The needs and opportunities were assessed in 2020, and the study team has developed those potential solutions, and they've also developed a screening process to evaluate those solutions. And the project has opened an online open house currently, which is seeking public input on which solutions should be recommended and how solutions should be prioritized. So I do encourage everybody to check that out on the DOT website. I've got a link on the report, which is also available online. It's DOT Parks Highway Pell, and the comment period for this segment of the Pell runs from April 12th to May 12th. And later there will be a draft of the of the study, and there'll be another comment period at that time. Another project we've been working on a lot this past few weeks is the SCORP, the Statewide Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan. It's due for renewal about every 5 years. And last time it was renewed in 2016, we didn't really hear anything about it. There's no references to Denali Borough, any projects here in that plan that is the current plan right now. It's pretty much a broad brush plan saying we support outdoor recreation. And it's a plan that is necessary to access LWCF, Land Water Conservation funds from Washington, D.C. And those funds are set to grow with the passage of the Great Americans Outdoors Act last year. And so the state and folks interested in improving our infrastructure for outdoor recreation, which includes the Denali Borough, are interested in a better process this time, putting together a better, more actionable plan. And kudos to the state and to the National Park Service for partnering in this effort, and this time taking a more inclusive approach, which is soliciting local input with the goal of that more actionable plan. So to that end, the borough has been invited to participate as a separate region. Usually we're lumped in with somewhere else. This time we're our own region, and it'll result in our own section of the plan. So outdoor recreation is hugely important to the borough residents and to our visitor economy. And growing these opportunities, it was an identified goal in our 2019 Land Use and Economic Development Plan. So it really fits with what we've been working on. And so the borough has convened a Denali Region SCORP working group comprised of agencies and departments, NPS, DOT, DNR, local voices and businesses to help direct and inform this effort. Tomorrow at the statewide trails conference, our working group will get to work. We'll convene, and so that's ongoing. And we appreciate the folks who are lending their time and efforts to this effort. And the street naming public process. Boy, it was a robust public process. It was maybe even a model of how to solicit a lot of good input. And here, I thought it went really well. A whole month of public comment period, wherein 160 people submitted online comments and road name proposals through a pretty easy to fill out online form, right? So that in itself, I thought, was a success. And then the 3 nights of the public Zoom meetings, I did have some hesitancy going into those. How's this going to go? And I thought they went really well. I really strongly appreciate the assembly members and planning commissioners who attended, and a number attended all 3 nights. To hear all that input was really valuable, and the conversations were robust. Those themes, Mr. Jones spoke to the themes he heard. I'd say themes emerged relating to a durable system with standardization, while also allowing for a level of flexibility, especially in this initial naming process. So at their April meeting, in terms of next steps, the Planning Commission will review this body of input, and it is on their agenda at their upcoming April meeting, and they will deliberate next steps to those issues brought forward. So really appreciate everybody who participated. I thought it was a great level of participation and public input. The American Rescue Plan, that $1.9 trillion bill, was signed into law. Treasury must deliver the first tranche of funds to municipal accounts within 60 days of passage. So guidance and final allocations are still being developed. We don't know our final number yet. We know it's It's not nearly going to meet our need, as we expect it to be just over 200,000 this year and 200,000 next year in those two tranches. Well, we did lose about $4 million in revenue last calendar year. Other meetings of note, the chamber has been hosting biweekly business updates that I've been attending. And the primary topic has been the need for COVID and testing and vaccination services for seasonal businesses and employees. And, we're responding to that, what we're hearing there. Attended AML legislative updates, public health echo calls, the school board meeting, NACO membership call on the rescue plan and infrastructure, and the ATIA, that's Alaska Travel Industry Association, Denali Working Group was last week. That was quite good. And the April Planning Commission agenda does include both the consideration and review of road naming and the work thus far and input thus far, but also approval of remote parcel offerings DNR's proposing out west in the Alma Lakes area. That'll be on their agenda. And finally, it's not on my written report, but I wanted to give you a little update because you might be seeing some new facilities going into our transfer stations at both the Healy Transfer Station and the Cantwell Transfer Station. We've been working with the ZLI group, the Zero Landfill Initiative, and I want to thank Operations Manager Scott Wright. He's been being very helpful in this effort, and he definitely has covered for me as I've been away at other meetings recently. And basically, the borough is agreeing to the ZLI to engage in a pilot program where trailers that'll be hauled by Carlisle Trucking will be staged at our two transfer stations in order to collect recyclables, specifically cardboard. Cardboard's been a tough nut to crack for some businesses here and for our great recycling program that the Native Village of Cantwell runs. They do not accept cardboard in that program. So this program, again, through ZLI and funded by ZLI, we'll be able to collect cardboard and a few different recyclable items in tough sacks, super sacks, and the transport will be covered by ZLI for a year, and the borough will assume no additional costs. There'll be a little bit of management, make sure things are going well in that trailer. Businesses will be allowed to use that facility, while businesses are not really allowed into the transfer stations in general. These transfer stations are for residential waste, and so you may see businesses come in to those trailers with recyclables as well, but it will be open to residents, and we expect it to kick off sometime in mid-May. So we're excited about that, and then we'll reevaluate after a year, see if the funding's still available, see if there are other avenues of funding. But we're happy to engage in that pilot program. So that's what I've got for you.
Thank you, Mayor Walker. Any questions for the mayor? Great.
Getting off easy.
Appreciate the report.
Thank you.
That'll bring us to assembly comments. And I will start up at seat A with Mr. Canale.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Once again, appreciate the hard work of staff, thoroughness of the reports. Greatly appreciated. Gives a great understanding of what's occurring in the borough on a month-to-month basis. So again, thanks for that. Already made comments about the street naming public hearing, so I'll let those stand as is, except to acknowledge and recognize and really shout out for Marsha Lambert, the planner for the borough. All the hard work was evident. She put into managing the entire process from the public comments to the land maps or the street naming maps that were developed. Really provided excellent visuals for the discussion for all three meetings. And I know there's still a ton of work left to do, but even though there, certainly some comments by the public to maybe look at the standard a little bit differently. I don't want it lost on us in the borough of all the hard work that's gone into that. And by no means should that be a reflection of any of the work that was done by her and the commission. So again, just a shout out to Marsha for all that hard work. That's it for me.
Thank you. And Mr. Hill.
Thank you. I would like to echo everything Mr. Canale said. The amount of work that went into just getting those meetings up and running was a tremendous undertaking. So for Marsha and for Mayor Walker, thanks for being there to facilitate. It was quite an undertaking, and I am glad to have listened in for all of those meetings. We are one borough comprised of many small communities. All of whom have many people with very different ideas about the best ways to move forward. And I thought it was a great opportunity for people to share their input and their insight. And it's nice to see so much care and investment moving forward. So as Mr. Canale said, there's definitely a lot more work to go, but it's nice to know that people are involved and invested. And I was glad to hear it. Whenever it makes its way to our table, I think being as caught up as we can be with what the sentiments of each of these communities are will be helpful moving forward. So I'm glad we were able to be a part of that. And that's it for me now. Thank you.
Ms. Minor.
I'll just say thanks for the volunteers and those that helped with the vaccination clinic. Very smooth, very fast. It's very appreciated. Good work on the community's part, and also really grateful to be able to participate in the meetings and for the road naming, and really amazed at the turnout. It was a huge turnout for each community, and it was nice to be able to hear the history and things that I don't know about. I'm new here, so it's good to hear history and things like that, and appreciate that. And I hope that we can, not, I guess, compromise on the changes that need to be made and making sure that things align with standards so that everything goes smoothly, and also recognizing the history of the areas. But it was really cool to listen into some of those. And thanks for the reports and for those that helped put together the meetings.
Mr. Chatfield.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, I'd like to just say I was thoroughly impressed, and I'm very appreciative of what I think is a very robust turnout for the addressing meetings, and it's very helpful that we get the community input like we did. And now we're going to be able to take away some good suggestions from some of the community members, and hopefully fine tune our ordinance that we put forward. So with that, I also want to thank Ms. Lambert. She's done an excellent job in this process here, and I'll save the rest of my comments for later. Thanks.
Ms. Zapone.
Thank you. First off, of course, to echo everything, I would like to imagine that the turnout that we received for these street namings was more than the turnout we received those years ago when the Stampede Recreation Area was a rumored meeting. I think we filled that McKinley Community Center with probably over 60 people easily, but it's always interesting to me what brings people out. And so, our community is pretty quiet for most of the things And then if they're gonna come out in the force that they did, I think it's our responsibility to really listen to them. I also tuned in to all three of those meetings and would echo what Mrs. Miner said. There's a lot of history that was told in between those lines. So that's, I mean, the meetings went longer than they could have gone, but I think there's a lot of full picture painting that I will benefit from going forward. And then the other thing I'm going to say here at the beginning and again at the end, I'm actively soliciting feedback for Rail Belt Mental Health. At the last meeting, we were all together. I did mention reaching out to them to try and figure out a scope of their services. I have not yet received a reply from them. And since have received some unhappy public comments from folks talking around town. So if there's anybody who knows anybody associated with or experienced with Rail Belt Mental Health, please send them my way. And other than that, I'll look forward to the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to just echo all the appreciation that's been expressed. A lot of good things going on here in the borough, and a lot of work for borough staff, working on lots of different things and lots of different meetings. So really appreciate all the work that we're able to do, taking up public health, and at the same time really doing well to engage the public in trying times. So yeah, appreciate everything that folks in the office have been doing, as well as everybody that turned up to tell us how we should do our road name and stuff. And Mr. Stenger, do I see you joined us?
I did receive a message from him. He's having some.
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we go ahead, Mr. Stenger, if you have any comment.
Yeah. I was having some technical issues, and it appears I still am. But no, excellent reports again by the superintendent and the mayor. Really, those are great every time. The road naming meetings were awesome. I enjoyed those, learned a lot, and can't thank everybody at the borough office for the work. And Marcia did a tremendous job, and the crew working on the COVID vaccinations and all that. Just echo everybody else's words and thoughts. Everybody's doing a great job, and that's all I got for now.
Thank you, Mr. Stenger. We heard you loud and clear. And go to Ms. Holmes.
Yeah, I can understand Jeff having technical difficulties. My internet has been popping in and out and in and out and in and out. So I finally switched to my little AT&T thingy, and it seems to be working better. So, but I wanted to apologize for not being at the meetings last week. My computer was in the shop, and my old computer was acting like an old computer. So I couldn't get on. The first night I got on for just a few minutes, and then I was unable to again. But anyway, I guess it is what it is. So thank you all for working on that, and for being patient with me tonight in all my flitting around. Thank you, and we will still hang in here.
All right. We do not have any communications or appearances on the agenda. And under ordinances, we have one draft ordinance, which is ordinance 21-04, and that is our FY21 budget amendment. And we entertain a motion to introduce.
I'll move to introduce 2104.
I'll second.
All right, moved by Mr. Hill and seconded to introduce. And I'd look to Mayor Walker. Would you talk us through the budget amendment?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thanks. and we have talked a little bit about our budget process this year and a timeline of introduction of the 2021, the fiscal year we're in, amendment for introduction tonight, and then the introduction of the 22 budget at the special budget meeting on the 28th, and then they would both be on the May meeting, while the amendment 2021, could be passed at that time. So with that, this budget is and will remain forevermore just so different, because of CARES. Then people are going to look back on this budget and go, what was going on? And CARES is such a big understory, or such a dominant story of this fiscal year, that that it's kind of hard to tell that story in the budget itself. We do that a bit in the budget budget message. But anyway, what you got in front of you is the amendment. We did, of course, craft the original budget, the original 2021 budget, just as COVID was heating up. And then we did do several significant amendments as we went into last April, May, and June. And this is the first amendment since that budget passed, and the final amendment. We do this every year. We amend the budget towards the end of the year, and you'll see one notable line item that we delete, that we amend, but we also just kind of fine tune it. Right? It's been a while, and we try to make it more reflective of what actually happened this year, and and we are able to reduce some of the expenses, bring some of those line items down, but also we'll start off with the revenue that goes down significantly. We were overly optimistic last May, thinking that our OA tax would go down by about half. We put 2.1 million there, and you got to remember the fiscal year starts July 1st and will end this coming June 30th. We put 2.1 million there. We received about 380,000 last summer, and we expect to receive about 380,000 this summer, this May and June, I should say, and that brings us to about 750. Quite a drop from 2.1. So moving on down, and we can take it kind of line by line, and feel free to ask if I skip over. I might not hit every single amended item. I've kind of hit the bigger ones here. PILT and community assistance are two of our other two larger revenue sources. Actually came in a little higher. We're appreciative of the federal and state contributions for a total revenue picture of 1.687. Quite a drop from, well, the actual 20 on this list, does include the down year as well, a down half a summer as well. So quite a drop from where we were at over 4.5 million. Now, the highlighted section of forward funding requirement, that's the code language, and we specify the number that we can fund up to based upon our reserves. And you'll see that that's a pretty high number that we could legally fund up to this year. But we know that this year itself will be a lower year as well. And this lean year, extra lean year behind us will carry forward, and that we should not fund nearly to that maximum at all. In fact, we're going to put forward a rather constrained budget, but at the same time, it's not draconian in terms of, both contributions to our community and also continuing on with efforts that are underway that do relate to economic development that we do believe will serve the borough well once this pandemic is behind us. So let's move into some of the other changes. Staff salaries actually go up, and I was kind of going, how is that? We're actually putting the public health workers under staff salaries, and some of those monies will be reimbursed. So other, let's see, IT services. IT services at 15,000, this website, a fair number of software subscriptions, especially important in this day and age. We actually have a new server this year, and we were able to utilize CARES monies for some of those remote meeting software packages, things like that. Some of these line items that go down significantly, we're using other monies to supplant to provide that service. For example, elections. We have $1,000 there. Carrying out the election this year certainly cost more than $1,000, but we did have a grant to provide for a majority of those costs. And we'll move on to some other items that are reduced, from postage to bank fees to, well, let's see, insurance goes up a little bit. Here, I want to get to the big one, the budgetary reserve, 4,300 on top of page 2. That's required in code that we do put aside and budget for, and it's included in that budgetary cap of forward funding. 15% of our holdings as of January 1st is to be held as a budgetary reserve, is to be put in the budget as an expense. It was $1 million this fiscal year, and you'll see in this amendment we zero that out. That is a reserve that can be used. It can be used by the Assembly. It's the Assembly budgetary reserve, but we try not to, and that way that $1 million is then available for next year, right? It's an interesting budgetary mechanism that was put in place early on. So we zero that out and bring the contingency down, bring hazard mitigation down, and the contributions to nonprofits don't change. They're all zeroed out because we did use CARES funding to support these organizations, every one of them, this past year. And moving on down, we add revenue sharing distribution that came in from the state. We didn't know the number exactly when the budget was first passed back in June. We add that number in, and those funds go out to those eligible organizations. And we zero out economic development. We'd hope to do some things there. And it brings us down to governmental expenses. It's at just over $1 million. And that's a quite a bit lower governmental expenses than we would normally have, thanks to CARES. School district, you could kind of say the same in that we funded them out of general fund dollars to just under 2 million, 1.9, and then we did supplant that with over $700,000 in CARES monies also to to meet some of their COVID mitigation needs, COVID impact needs. So that is part of the story there as well. And we did not fund our fund accounts, things like the capital improvement fund, the major school maintenance fund, some of our major responsibilities, the new little parks and rec fund. We've been trying to put $10,000 a year into. We didn't do that. Emergency apparatus fund, we did not fund that. And we still may recommend not funding those. And then we have transfers to the fund accounts. good that we didn't need to make a transfer to solid waste. This current fiscal year, we needed to supplant the land enterprise fund by to the tune of 40,000. Matching grants were zero. Again, those nonprofits did do some great projects with some of those CARES fundings this year. And then, so we come to our total general fund that includes the transfers of 3 million. And includes the school contribution. And hopefully through the FEMA process, we will actually see some more reimbursements as well. Maybe that will come down a little bit more. So when you look on the balance to see an imbalance of around 3 million in expenses and 1.68 in revenue, you know, it definitely will be a deficit year for the borough, which we haven't seen in many, many years. But we're trying to make that deficit not that large, as we do have some reserves that can bridge the gap. So then we'll move into the separate, and that's really, you know, the budget. The other sections are the enterprises, and they're not general fund, they're enterprise dollars that are spent. And if that enterprise needs an injection from the general fund, that's done in that first part of the budget, right, in the transfer. But we include the full land management budget and the full solid waste budget in our whole budget that you see. The land management budget, main changes, there wasn't much travel, wasn't much training for either planning commissioners or staff. Those line items go down. And attorney fees go up a little bit. They definitely had some additional trainings provided by attorney this year, and land admin goes down, and we bring it down to about 222,000 to run the land enterprise. The solid waste enterprise revenue is down, as you might imagine. Tipping fees are down, but not down. You know, they're down from the actual in 2020 of $554,000 in tipping fees to $325,000 estimate. The project out of Clear, you know, did provide some revenue for the solid waste enterprise. As we move into the expenses, most things are amended down. Let's see, just pick out a few notables here. Bank fees do go up from 5,000 to 10,000. We're actually charging some of those fees that we just assumed under the general governmental expenses. We're actually now attributing those to solid waste and just more clear accounting. And also they did get some new handheld card readers at each facility. And then well monitoring, that's probably going to come in lower than 40,000. I'd like to point to cover and sell maintenance. We planned for 20,000. That's for fertilizer and seed, and the volume that we buy and spread, you know, it is expensive. We're planning for up to 20,000 for that line item. You'll see in the prior year we spent $0, and that's the year Usabelli came out and donated their great seed mix and their expertise in revegetation, as they really helped out in reseeding some of our capped pits that really needed help, that we've been applying seed and fertilizer to and not having great success. They came out and helped. And this year we didn't spend nearly 20,000. We've actually spent under 1,000 on seed and fertilizer, thanks to that donation of time and materials from Usabelli. So, and then we do, moving on down, we keep that landfill closure fund transfer, and we keep it within solid waste. Solid waste is, through the operating fund, is contributing to the landfill closure fund, but to the tune of $73,000. That's necessary for the long-term care and closure of the facility. So those are the highlights, or the kind of overview I've got for you for the FY21 budget amendment.
Thank you, Mayor Walker.
Welcome.
Questions for the mayor? Question I have is what does this do for our general fund going forward? Certainly our revenues are not matching our expenses as we look at this through here. So where it's highlighted in yellow at 7.3 million on April 1st, 2020. What does that number gonna look like for 2021? Or for FY 2022?
Yeah, what are the projections for that? Hard to say exactly, of course, at this time, but our treasurer, Wendy Planty, did prepare some of this information in the PowerPoint that was brought to the Finance Committee meeting, and was also sent to all assembly members in an email, PowerPoint.
Yeah.
There are some projections of deficit budgets from this year and to next year. And to me, with every effort that we're going to make to preserve general fund dollars and bring in some additional revenue this year, we are going to have some new taxes the voters approved coming online. To me right now, it looks like it's going to be close. We're hoping to squeak by, and I think we might be able to do it. That's the game plan right now. But we can bring some of those firmer figures to you as we move forward.
Yeah. Once we're into once we start to see that next budget coming forward, yep. But it certainly seems like every effort's been made in terms of amending this budget down yep. To push as much of that exactly. money forward as we can.
Exactly. That's the whole effort. Has been from day one. Once this hit, preserve general fund, and push it forward. Yeah. And so, we're going to continue to do small things too. It'll come to you where, we might use a different fund. Oh, we did it with the loader tires, right? We used that equipment fund for the loader tires rather than run down the solid waste operating, which then might need a reinjection from the general fund, right? So we're going to lean a little bit on some of those separate fund accounts too.
Any discussion on our budget amendment? Thank you, Mayor Walker and staff for bringing this back to us for an amendment. I would entertain a roll call vote on introduction here tonight.
Sure. Eileen Holmes?
Yes.
Jeff Stanger?
Yes.
Jake Hill?
Yes.
Dominic Canali?
Yes.
Lisa Minor?
Yes.
Joe Chatfield?
Yes.
Krista Zapone?
Yes.
Jared Zimmerman?
Yes.
It passes.
Is there a motion to postpone to our next meeting?
I would move to postpone ordinance 2104 to the next meeting.
Second.
Okay, moved by Ms. Zapone to postpone. It's been seconded. Any discussion on bringing this back at our next meeting? Anyone opposed? Hearing none, we'll call that unanimous. And that'll bring us, no pending ordinances tonight, but we do have one resolution, and that is our permanent investment asset allocation.
I would move to introduce resolution 20, or approve resolution 21-06.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Zapone to approve resolution 2106, and it's been seconded. Mayor Walker?
Yeah, thank you. We do this every year. We review and set forth a plan for asset allocation for the permanent investment fund, and we appreciate the finance committee diving in and recommending to maintain what we've set forth previously. It is, I'd call it a classic 60-40 that leans a little more towards 50-50 split in terms of a balanced approach to investment, where in 60% equity, 40% bonds, and but at the same time, the leeway that it's got leans towards a little more conservative 50-50. And it served us well, especially in the downs and in the ups. And I'm happy to report that, it has been an up equity 12 months. And this is probably the first, we talk about the permanent fund, I'd say mostly this time of the year, really, when we come at this allocation resolution. And, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the permanent fund. It has grown. I started here 8 years ago. It was around 2.6 maybe. And then, it's grown to over $3 million. And we've worked on the allocation. We've worked on the investment approach. We've moved from a more actively managed approach to a more passive investment approach with index funds. And it's grown to over $4 million. I'm happy to report. This is the first spring that it's over $4 million, just over. But it is notable whenever you hit that next seven-digit number. So so that's where it is right now, and it's doing well. And let's keep the good path that we've been working to set for these years, is what I would recommend, and the finance committee too. Thank you.
Yeah, this recommendation for this resolution coming out of the finance committee. Any other discussion? Ms. Zapone?
Yeah, I mean, just to speak on behalf of the committee, it's one of those things where this approach has been working for us, and especially in these uncertain futures, if it's not broken, let's not fix it. So it's predictable, and because it's predictable, we kind of feel like that's a good thing going forward right now.
There's no other discussion. I'd ask for a roll call vote on approval of resolution 2106.
Jake Hill,
Yes.
Lisa Minor,
Yes.
Eileen Holmes,
Yes.
Krista Zapone,
Yes.
Dominic Canelli,
Yes.
Jeff Singer,
Yes.
Joe Chatfield,
Yes.
Jared Zimmerman.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, resolution is approved. And that'll bring us back to other business and public comments. Has anybody reached out to us over the course of the meeting? No. All right, move on to assembly comments then, and start at the bottom. Seat I with Ms. Holmes.
Okay, it's been a good meeting tonight. I think it's been really productive, and it's kind of caught me up on stuff I've missed. Thanks to all of you guys for coming to the meetings and cooperating and with each other, and I think it's been good. Thank you.
Mr. Stenger.
Yeah, not much to say. I do want to put the thanks out there that the budgetary work that's gone in the finance committee. I have nothing but gratitude for all the work there. That's a hard job, and gives me a headache looking at it. But I think we got the right people in the right spot again. Once again, I say that, and I think we're going to be all right. Good meeting, and apologies for being a little late and figuring this out.
And no comments from me at this time. Ms. Zapone.
Yeah, thanks everybody for tonight's meeting. Just like I said before, if you know anybody who has been to or knows of Rail Belt Mental Health, please send them my way. I am now determined to figure out what's going on. So good, bad, or otherwise, I want to hear it. And then in lighter and more happier news, on Saturday, May 8th, which is a couple weekends from now still, the Lions Club is going to be having a COVID fever reliever barbecue with to-go options for those who are not yet ready to join the social circles. That will be at Otto Lake Park. So just FYI. Good meeting tonight, guys. Stay safe and enjoy this weather.
And Mr. Chatfield.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate everybody's hard work over the last couple of months before the ordinance was passed for addressing and street numbering, and again, just very pleased with the turnout that we had with the public meetings, the last three during the week, and well, look forward to our next meeting. Have a good night.
And Ms. Minor.
I just wanted to backtrack a little and say thanks to Vanessa and the chamber for all of their work. I'm really, with what I'm seeing with our business, I'm really hopeful for a robust season. And I'm grateful for all the work that they put into really trying to grow the visitors and the revenue and the, commerce in the area. And yeah, thanks. Great meeting. See you guys next time.
Mr. Hill.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to Wendy for all the work on these budgets. These are certainly unusual times to be putting budgets together. So thank you for all of that work. And again, to echo thank yous to Marcia for all of the work that she's done on these addresses. These are two big tasks that we're in the midst of right now. And so I look forward to what's to come. But thanks everyone for being here, and we'll see you next time.
And Mr. Canali.
Yeah, thanks everybody for a great meeting. Mr. Zimmerman, excellent job, very efficiently run. Appreciate that. I think I've expressed comments on a number of topics already through the meeting, so I think I'll leave it at that and say good night to everybody.
Well, we do have a few meetings coming up. Finance Committee is meeting again on April 21st. At 6 p.m. And the following week, we have a special assembly budget meeting on the 28th. And on May 12th will be our next regular meeting with a public hearing at 6 p.m. all of them right here on the internet. And with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would move to adjourn.
Second.
No opposition, call that unanimous. Call it a night. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Good night.
Good
Have a
night.
good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.